Is if we have any kind of creative outlets that we want to try to get off the ground, if you guys are working on scripts or whatever, it'd be good to potentially share and see if we have any potential time possibilities of actually getting working on maybe like shooting them. Obviously all the pre-production stuff has to be in order before we get to the production, and then post is post. So hopefully we did a good enough job on the pre-production and production before we actually get to the post part. Hey, we're all broke. None of us have got millions of dollars to be like, hey, you want to work on my movie? This movie, you might hate this movie, but here's like 50 grand or here's $100,000. Just do this for me. And you can hate it. You can like tell all your friends after it comes out how terrible it was working on it. But at the end of the day, you got paid. We're really not in that kind of a position. So obviously, it would have to be something more along the lines of, if this thing makes any kind of money, all right, because obviously you're going to get credit for it. So there's the credit end of it, which may not be enough to motivate a lot of people. But with the idea that if it makes money, we're all putting our time in, we're all trying to make it happen. So at the end of the day, everybody gets a cut of whatever that is.
And it's all pre-production, I gotta say. And it's just like meeting like this, not necessarily brainstorming, but just like, okay, here's the idea. Can you sell it to us? If you can sell it to the crew, then you know what? Because I jump on almost everybody's project that throws one out at me. And I think our first one should definitely be just for experience. So if that alone, if we have a small enough project, do it just for experience. And the other thing is, we have these full feature-length scripts, but what we're forgetting is that I've been approached by authors not to do a full feature, but just to do a 5 to 15-minute trailer to maybe pique investors' interest instead of, okay, here, read this. How about sit back and watch this? And if we can make that the pilot or the trailer, just the sizzle trailer for it, if we can make that good enough.
Well, that's what my friend was saying about this project. He was like, well, we have the first episode down. Why don't we try and shoot it, put it together, and then try and get it to investors, and then if we get lucky enough to get some money to continue making them, we can do it all over again from scratch if need be.
All of this stuff potentially leads to something else, and I mean, especially when you're starting out, there's not always money in it right from the get-go, but I think you also have to have faith and believe that if you're doing good work, if your heart is in it, your mind is in it, and you're putting everything you can to make it as good as possible, that it's going to come eventually. And sometimes these things, it's like you plant a seed, you might not see anything for like 4 years, 5 years. Paul's been working on L-Tan for years now, and it's finally getting to the point where it's on a disc. Hallelujah!
Because I don't think any of us here have worked on like a full feature above PA level, Right. So we got to just be able to say, you know what, we shot this and edited. It may be a turd, but we shot this and edited. Right. Next one, we know what to do better. Right. By the third one,
I think the killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a turd, but it's our turd.
Yeah. We know how to get from A to B, and we know what to do different now.
I think the experience thing is a big plus.
I think we need a summer project, something big, And even if we just spend 2 weeks shooting it, we have it forever, and we can edit it or re-edit it at our leisure,
Right.
So it doesn't have to be this year's film festival, it could be next year's,
And a lot of this stuff too, I mean, depending on how you go about it, you can either have it where, okay, we've got like 2 weeks to shoot, but we got a 2-hour feature film we want to do. Well, let's just take the 2 weeks and shoot what we can now, and then do the rest as we can. Or ideally, you schedule 6 months for shooting, you plan the whole thing out. On this day we're shooting this scene, on this day we're shooting that scene. You get all your pre-production ducks in order. You get the whole thing blocked and scripted, and like you have the whole thing storyboarded where there's really no surprises, and you go in and do what you got to do. And then if you need to go in and reshoot, you do it that way. But depending on how it all works out, I mean, you can't let, hey, I don't have 6 months block of time to do it, stop you from doing it. So if we got 2 weeks, let's do what we can in 2 weeks, and when we get another 2 weeks, let's move on to the next part of it.
But one of the ideas was morning show TV, and depending on what they're doing and what they're going for, it could add or it could subtract. Because I used to hear Z100 in the morning when I was taking my girl to work, and I was like, man, they're doing some pretty crazy stuff. Like, I want to see what's going on. I want to see if this guy's really doing this. And according to them, they are really doing it. But if they're just acting, obviously there's not going to be much to show. We could do like TV, and they maybe could change some of it up so it's aimed more at TV or for the podcast, or even do some things afterwards. But mainly, I think we can get the highlights down from morning show TV, whether they have a 3-minute or a 10-minute or 15-minute video, either daily or weekly of their show. I think that's something we can target too. And the key would be, again, to shoot the first 1 or the first 2 or 3 for free. All they gotta do is say on their show, like, hey, come back to our website, check this out, and you can actually see what went on the show. If they get a lot more hits from that, I think it could be really successful. And then you're talking about basically being optimization for their website. They can have a whole new source of revenue, because instead of just having flash ads on their website or something like that, they could actually have visual commercials. That could be a whole new source of income, and then we can charge the setup fee for shooting the video or putting together a graphic for the client or whatever.
Well, I think a lot of the revenue that we could potentially tap into is going to come from the form of advertising. So I think even in the case where you do use say a GoPro cam for a particular shoot, it might be worth trying to contact GoPro and say, hey, we're using your camera for this, that, and the other thing. Are you interested in kicking down some? And we'll actually put a little GoPro ad at the bottom of the video or at the end of the video to let
That's a
people
hot
know.
idea. That's a hot idea.
In the case of producing a kite flying show, you've already got a built-in audience that's already into it, and then you have all the other people that might be curious or might stumble onto it and say, hey, this is pretty cool. What's this all
Well, and
about?
it's an untapped thing. It's really big in France. Europe is big on kites. People are into it because they're like, wow, this is great once they see it. And they say, wow, it should be here all the time. It should be in the Olympics. It should be this and that. Why isn't any more people doing it? It's like nobody's,
What is it, kite? Would you think more on documentary terms, like one time, or
I see it, you got Mythbusters. All right, kind of in that kind of flavor. So today, one of the main guys that actually makes a living out of kites, he sells kites, is David Gomberg. He lives in Washington. And he has been the president for the American Kiting Association for many, many years off and on. He's very good verbally. He knows what to say. He says it 100,000 times. That's his business. That's his life. And he's gone to all these different places many, many times. China, Africa, all these places. And me and him have gone back for it. Matter of fact, I shot enough in Wildwood to actually make kind of a little trailer. And he's talking about what the show would be like. I could actually put that together right now.
So you're thinking recurring episodes and.
Right, like a 6-week thing. So each one would be divvied up for the real time, the history, or the science, the culture, and that would be kind of a mix. I'm kind of loosely putting it together right now, but you kind of get the idea. There's a lot that you could, it's rich. It's a rich environment.
Almost like a No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain, where it's kind of about food, but it's really about, the people, the places, everything around it.
Right.
Well, if you could tie that into with pick out a few kite companies or, companies that are affiliated with the kite industry and see if maybe they'd be willing to sponsor putting together a show like that for, for advertising,
I think we should be on it. I'm just not clear on how. I'm going to be honest here. All right. Obviously, what would be the easy way out, and we'd strike first, but I hate it because I don't like weddings. All right. But if you did weddings, we probably wouldn't be able to keep up. If you gave them, look, what's the average wedding guy company is about $2,000, right? And I don't see how those guys ever make any money because they wind up doing the actual wedding. They do they do post, they do the reception, and they do the practice sometimes. I was thinking there was a way to shoot people's cars so that they could have people that have a hot car, a hot rod. Go with them to some of these guys that go out to the burger place on Tuesdays or whatever, hang with them, have them talk about their car, whether they made it, especially the guys that made the build, or has a history over it or something, that you put just a little 5-minute thing of their car and them, maybe that's something
I
that
think
is
that would
really.
be more of a show, right?
Well, I'm talking about consumer, it's for
Oh, really?
them.